Madam Mayor, we are now live and recording. You can begin the meeting whenever you wish.
Okay, thank you and welcome everybody. Before I begin, I just want to remind you that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the Township's YouTube channel. I don't know if we have participants joining us on Zoom this afternoon, but we will, of course, council, raise your hands and I'll call on you to speak on a matter. Folks, I do know that there's a couple of chairs up front here, one that says reserved that doesn't need a sign on it any longer. There's a chair here. If you want to sit down, there's a couple of extra chairs as well. So make yourselves comfortable. We'll go through and call the roll, starting with Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Present.
Councillor Watt.
Present.
Councillor Vervoort.
Present.
And Councillor Johnston.
Present.
Of course, myself, Mayor Heather Watson. And on the staff bench, we have our acting CAO and clerk, Martina J. Hartwig.
Good afternoon.
We have our our legislative services assistant, Anu Mandaha. Hello, our interim treasurer, Paul Kramer, our chief building official, Don Helleman. Thank you. So we do have quorum in attendance, so I will call the meeting to order, starting with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the lands which are part of the 1818 Treaty 20 and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe bands of the Great Ojibwe Nation. We offer our gratitude to the Ojibwe for their care and knowledge of the lands in which we work, live, and enjoy. May we honor and respect their teaching and our treaty obligations as we grow together. And I will just pause for a moment of silent reflection, please. Okay, before we get started with the adoption of the agenda, I just want to take a minute to address the chambers. We've got a lot of folks here today, and just to put it in contrast to the meeting that we had on May 21st, just as it relates to our roles and responsibilities. I just want to state that, you know, this is being public council chambers. You have a right, of course, to be here and be part of watching the process. As mayor, I have a legal responsibility to ensure that our proceedings move forward. Yes, chair those meetings so they move forward under our procedural bylaw. Council meetings that are held in the chambers for the sole purpose of transparency so that folks can come out and watch the decision making happen. This isn't a forum, unfortunately, that allows for council to engage with the public. So we won't be able to take comments from the floor. Those opportunities for public engagement happens outside of the council meetings. And that's the same across the entire province. It's legislated by the province across all 444 municipalities. So our last meeting, we were somewhat tolerant of some of that engagement from the gallery, but understanding that we have quite a large agenda, a number of registered speakers, we're not going to allow that this evening. So I asked that the gallery conducts themselves accordingly, as well as council, to make sure that comments are being directed through the chair, because we do want to get through those deliberations. We want to be able to hear each other, and I remind you to turn your phones off. We want to be able to hear each other so that we can make those decisions that impact our township and impact you. So we won't be addressing comments from the gallery again, and you'll be asked to leave if you continuously disrupt the proceedings, because it is important that we're able to conduct the business, and hopefully you can conduct yourselves accordingly. And as I mentioned, council, please direct all your comments through the chair. And with that, we will look to the adoption of the agenda. Of course, it's been distributed in advance. Councillor Vervoort, seconded by Councillor Johnston. I actually believe we have, I apologize, item 10.1. 10.2, sorry. Item 10.2 we are removing from the agenda this evening. So with that, that's the Fire Station 2 paving project. So with that, we're looking for an adoption of the agenda. All in favor? Thank you very much. What am I missing? What's number 4?
Disclosure of beginning.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Okay, what did that? Okay, so, the agenda has been circulated. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing nothing, we've done the adoption of the agenda. Thank you very much, Councillor Lutt, for helping me catch that. Okay, so on to item number 6, adoption of the minutes and business arising from the minutes. We have 2 sets, our special council meeting from May 10th and our regular council meeting for May 23rd. So just looking for a motion on those, please. Deputy Mayor Nelson, second by Councillor Johnston. All in favor? And that motion carries. We have a number of items on the consent agenda, including County of Peterborough County Council meeting minutes, the Technical Advisory Committee meeting minutes, the Waste Diversion Report, the Ontario Regional Conservation Authority audit financials, Enbridge's update on rebasing, MSSA notice of Seniors Month, and the Municipal Policing Bureau 2025 Municipal Policing Billing Statement. Any member of council want to hold any of those items for discussion later in the agenda? Seeing nothing, then just one motion to approve them all. Councillor Watt, and that's seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have a presentation up from Lori Ritchie with the County of Peterborough, our healthcare advancement coordinator, talks about the healthcare needs assessment launch. Ms. Ritchie, welcome. Thank you. You have a presentation to get up? Yep, here we go. Did you hear that? No? You're good, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm here today to talk a little bit about my position and to explain some of the things that have been happening with respect to physician recruitment since I started this position. Next slide, please. So Peterborough County recognized the need for a dedicated physician recruiter, and as such, as of October of 2023, my position was created. Historically, physician recruitment has been done by one person who's done both the city and the county. And that was a position that I held back from 2015 to 2020. And I also made the recommendation that more resource needed to be put forward because there is a huge need, as I'll speak about in a moment. I am employed by Peterborough County and I report to Sheridan Brown, the CAO of the county. However, I work directly with the 8 CAOs of the townships and the mayors, deputy mayors, and councils of those respective communities. So I am here serving all 8 townships of Peterborough County. I do bring 28 years of healthcare experience to the role. 14 of those was spent in long-term care and 14 in primary care. And most recently, I was employed by the Peterborough Family Health Team, and my last position there was executive director. So I did have the opportunity to work with all family physicians within Peterborough City and County. And as previously mentioned, I did physician recruitment for 5 years within that time. So, my previous background is in human resources. And so I feel that I'm well versed for this challenging position. Next slide, please. So the current state, we are currently in a crisis with primary care, not just here in Peterborough County, but across the country as a whole. Unfortunately, the writing was on the wall, but changes were not made in time to kind of meet the baby boomers that are now requiring care and the physician baby boomers who are now retiring. According to the Ontario College of Family Physicians, there are currently 32,000 people within Peterborough City and County without access to primary care, and that is set to double by 2026. So we need to do something urgently because without access to primary care, we can't get access to specialists and we can't get entry to the healthcare system to get our needs looked after. Next slide, please. So there's a number of reasons for this. One would be physician retirements. As I mentioned, we have a large number of baby boomer physicians that are retiring. A lot have left as a result of COVID, and a lot are leaving as a result of additional administrative burdens that have been placed upon their practice. We would think that with the advent of technology that would become less, but unfortunately it's actually become more. And as well as the needs from our various insurance providers, et cetera. And people are not choosing family medicine anymore, it's changed. So a lot of people that go into family medicine aren't actually setting up full-time family practices, they're wanting to do other things. More than 50% of family physicians are now females, and so a lot of them are of childbearing age. So they're choosing to locum and work part-time other places versus setting up our traditional family practices as we would have had for many years. So these constraints, coupled with the growing populations throughout Peterborough County, makes it more important than ever that focus is put on physician recruitment and retention to make sure that the physicians that we do have are happy here and do want to stay. Next slide, please. So over the last 8 months, I've been looking at, our current state of affairs and have identified a number of current challenges. One of the major challenges that we have is a lack of infrastructure. So while our townships have grown all throughout Peterborough County, there is only one new medical facility, which you'll hear about in a few minutes, that has been built. And so, we need space. I can't recruit physicians if I don't have a space for them to practice. So to me, that is absolute #1 priority. But in order to figure out what type of infrastructure we need, I need accurate data. And that's what comes in the healthcare needs assessment that I'm going to speak more about in a moment. But I need to know who the people are who are looking for a family doctor and where they live. And what other services do they want to see located close to home? A family physician, the day of them working in solo practice, they're gone. The people that I'm recruiting now want to work in a team-based practice. They want peers to work with, and they want other services located within their facility. I also have a lack of candidates. Canada only graduates 1,700 physicians per year, and out of that, a very small actually go into full-time family practice. So our local candidates are not there. We also have a lot of Canadians, Ontarians who are going out of the country for medical school, and we currently have no way of knowing who those persons are or where they're at. So therefore, it makes it difficult to recruit. Spousal employment opportunities. More and more, we have two working partners in a family. And so for me to recruit a position here, I also need to find employment for their spouse. And so that makes it even more challenging if the spouse has a very specific skill set. And then further to that is lack of daycare. We all know that we have a daycare crisis, let alone a primary care crisis. I was speaking today with the city of Peterborough, and there are over 4,000 people currently on a wait list within Peterborough City and County for daycare. So if a physician can't find a spot for their children to go, they're not going to come and settle within our community. Housing, so not so much on the permanent housing, but more on a temporary housing basis. That's difficult, but that's part of my role as well, is to help them settle within the community and find housing that's appropriate for them. And then we have restraints within our family health organizations. All of our family doctors in Peterborough City and County belong to a family health organization. That is a grouping of physicians. Those physicians have final say whether a physician can join or they want to expand the size of their group. So we currently have some that are not open to growing their family health organization for a number of different reasons. And that also makes it difficult to recruit because that is the most lucrative form of payment that a family physician can make in Ontario. And so if I'm not able to place them in a family health organization, that makes my job even more difficult. Next slide, please. So some of the solutions that I've been working on since starting in this position is I'm currently working on forming an Eastern Ontario Physician Recruitment Alliance. This is a grouping of people who do the same job as me and are located within the Eastern Ontario catchment area, aligned along with the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus and Warden's Caucus, a lot of those municipalities. Historically, we've worked competitively and worked not shared our information with each other. Those days are gone because, as I mentioned, we're unable to recruit locally or nationally. We now need to look internationally. International recruitment is very expensive. And so the main goal of this alliance will be for us to come together and to share the costs of attending recruitment fairs around the world. There are different countries that have agreements with Canada, such as Britain, Ireland, the United States, and Australia, whereby their medical experience and education is considered equal, and therefore they just need to write the one exam and do not require additional training. So our focus will be on those areas and bringing people here and also finding our medical students who have gone out of the country and repatriating them back home. Some of the challenges with bringing in foreign doctors are to do with immigration and also a lot of red tape. So I'm working with our local, federal, and provincial politicians to take away some of those barriers that currently exist. Looking at some of the guidelines for adding people to a family health organization currently are discriminatory against rural communities, so lobbying for change there. And keeping my eye open for various streams of infrastructure funding. I'm also looking to start an ambassador program because physician recruitment is much larger than me. It needs all of you and all of you here in this room to help me to promote our area and to keep your ears and eyes open for anybody who is in the medical field and may be interested in coming here and putting them in touch with me and working together to welcome them to the community when they do come and making sure that they want to stay. The physician healthcare needs assessment. I recently did a survey of our existing physicians to find out how long it is until they plan to retire. Are they interested in locuming? What else can I do to help them stay here? That data is going to be shared in the near future, but I was pleased that I did have 100% completion. I had to maybe bribe them a little bit with the gift card, but it worked, and I have the data that I need to help me do my job properly. And then I've launched a Your Health Matters campaign. The start of this is this healthcare needs assessment. Currently, there are 444 residents of Douro-Dummer Township listed on my assessment as looking for a position closer to home. If you do know of anybody who does not have a position and is not aware of this list, I'll speak a little bit more about it and tell you how you can access it. And then after I've presented to all 8 councils, I do look to do some town halls where I can engage with the community and get some feedback and start to build on, suggestions that the members of your township have. Next slide, please. So this was the survey that I spoke about. So out of the 18, 8 plan on staying for 10 plus more years, 3 plan on practicing for 5 to 10, and 7 plan on retiring within 2 to 5 years. So those that are planning within the 2 to 5 years, I need to start that looking now. This type of recruitment is not like any other type of recruitment. It does take years in which to find a person for that position. And we currently look after 24 rostered patients within Peterborough County. I have 1 current vacancy at the Morton Health Center with a physician who is retired without a replacement, and a nurse practitioner has recently just left Keene without a replacement. Next slide, please. So this is some of the data. I know it's very small about the survey that I'm doing. So you can find it at peterborough.county.ca under Your Health Matters, and there's a link there. And if you can't do that, then my cell phone number is available for you to call. But as of, we're at over 3,000 people registered throughout Peterborough County right now with the need for a position. So I know there's more, and I do need this data to be accurate. So the more that this can be shared, it would be appreciated. Next slide, please. So here's my cell phone number and my email address, and I welcome to hear from any counselors at any time, and I continue to work closely with Martina and Heather on making sure that the needs of Douro-Dummer are looked after, and I am open to address any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. I will hand it over to council. Any questions of Mr. Chief? Councilor Watt.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks very much, Lori. It's a lot of work. It's a very, very worthwhile project. We certainly need lots of doctors. Something you said earlier just kind of tweaked me, and then maybe there's obviously no merit in it at all, but I know one of my colleagues that I went to school here, starting in Warsaw Public School, he's been a doctor You know, like, and he just retired. Now he's doing a bit of travel right now, but I think his intention is to move back to this area for home stuff again. Is there any possibility of, and I'll just throw our Morton Healthcare Center right there, whatever like that, you know, I know the doctors take turns and having a night clinic, stuff like that, but is there any possibility of checking some of these, doctors that are retired and coming back? Maybe they could work one night a week, kind of like that, to take in some patients and, you know, try and alleviate the load from some of the others, or somebody that doesn't have one, and take a bit of the load off the hospital too, because it's just crazy.
Through you, Chair, that is an excellent suggestion, and absolutely there would be opportunity with them. It would not necessarily be through the family health organization. They can locum, which is doing temporary coverage for a physician. Our retired doctors quite often do that, but through the Peterborough Family Health Team, they do have an unattached patient clinic at the Morton Health Center, and that would be an excellent place for somebody like that to work one day a week and see people who do not have a primary care provider and get them into, you know, and linked into the care that they do need. So that's an excellent suggestion, and by all means, give my name to your friend.
Thank you.
Sounds like a matchmaking service there. Any other questions from council? Councilor report.
Through you, Mayor Watson. Thank you very much, Larry, for the presentation. Just a quick question on the nurse practitioner office and kind of the nurse practitioner program in general. Is it expanding more, and is there more appetite for it in the community?
Through you, Chair. I love the role of the nurse practitioner. Unfortunately, the nurse practitioner cannot bill, and the only way that we are able to get nurse practitioners is through a salaried model. And so the government very infrequently puts out requests or calls for additional nurse practitioners. So while they are an excellent resource, provide great care, the ones that we have in Keene are part of the VON, or the Victorian Order of Nurses, nurse practitioner program. And so I feel that the nurse practitioners are a great way to fill gaps, but the government has not come forth with funding for that. But it's certainly, I would not hesitate to bring forth a nurse practitioner or seek care for one.
Councilor report.
Through Mayor Watson, thank you. So the nurse practitioners then are paid through the province or paid through the county? Okay, so they're paid through the province. And the province just hasn't increased that pool of money for that program. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Just a couple comments through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks very much for your presentation, Laurie. You definitely have a huge job coming forward here in the next little while, with the possibility of 60,000 people in this area without doctors. That's a huge leap. So anyways, kudos. I wish you all the best of luck, and hopefully we can get the ear of our government to get more doctors trained and allow more doctors to come to this country and write a test and become a doctor that we need very much. So anyways, kudos, Laurie, and good luck in all your endeavors with your future job here. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Through you, Chair. Just, they are increasing med school spots, very small numbers, but that is a 7 to 10 year process.
Yes.
Thank you. I do have a couple of questions just to follow up, more clarification. So you mentioned the Your Health Matters in the list, and roughly 3,000 people have filled out that survey. Can you just clarify, because I've seen some of the marketing materials around it. So I am an attached patient. I have a doctor. I'm unfortunate. Do I still fill out that survey, or are you just looking for people to fill out the survey who are not attached? And if someone who isn't attached fills out that survey, then you're able to match them to a doctor. Should you have doctors that are able to? Can you just talk about what that process looks like a little bit, please?
Sure. Through you. So yes, so there's two components to this needs assessment. The first part is simply asking if you are seeking a doctor closer to home, or whether you do or do not have a doctor. The current waiting list that the province holds, we're kind of bypassing that because it's very intense, and it tells you that you need to de-roster from your existing position, and it gets people anxious. This particular list, it does not matter to me if you do or do not have a doctor. If you want one closer to home, if you're traveling for your doctor and you want one closer to home, then I want you to tell me that. The second component of it is what other services are you looking for closer to home? So you can fill that out whether you are looking for a doctor or not. You just simply say that you're not currently seeking a doctor. It literally takes 2 to 3 minutes to complete this healthcare needs assessment. And it's a starting point. I will obviously do more with respect to the infrastructure component through the town hall sessions that I plan to hold starting in the fall. But yes, you could do it if you have a doctor or don't have a doctor. I encourage all members of Peterborough County to check out the needs assessment form and then provide me with their feelings on what's needed.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. And then going back to the list and the numbers that you were presenting on screen, and it was a little bit small. You said there were 444 people in Douro-Dummer who had filled out the survey or who were unattached or
We were looking for a doctor closer to home.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, you mentioned that we're all here. We all have a role in helping to attract doctors by way of being ambassadors. What can we do to support your work as a council? What I know, obviously you're paid through the county, but what can we specifically do as our council to support you in your work?
Well, I think when I have a position that comes to the area, you can help to be an ambassador about the area, to speak about, what it is like to live and work within these communities. You can certainly look at offering some forms of incentives to physicians to help decrease their overhead expenses. That's one of the big concerns that people have going into family medicine. Just generally be an ambassador and a positive role model for living and working within Peterborough County.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Again, thank you so much for your presentation. I would encourage you to stick around if you have the time. We have 2 more healthcare related presentations on the agenda this evening that might be of interest to you. And on that, just a motion to receive the presentation. Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councillor Johnston. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have item 8.2, presentation from the Morton Medical Center, their updated financial report for council. Folks, here we have Mr. Vigno, you coming up?
My name is Dave Vigno. I'm the chair of the Morton Medical Center. And it is time because I'm here to talk about the infrastructure.
We can hear you now.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Dave Vigno. I'm the chair of the Morton Medical Center. And unlike Lloyd, we're here to ask the council to consider a contribution to our infrastructure. So the Morton Medical Center, for those of you who don't know, in the business of supporting and enhancing healthcare services in our community. In this business, to meet the needs of healthcare professionals for flexible and efficient operating space, we meet the needs of our community for local healthcare access. Simply put, we are the landlords of the healthcare community. MNC is a community-owned and funded not-for-profit registered charity organization located at 150 Strickland Street in the Township of Douro-Dummer. MCC owns and operates a 10,000 square foot community healthcare facility, which includes 7 primary care doctors operating within a family health organization, Peterborough Family Health Team Health Clinic, which includes 2 part-time nurse practitioners for non-rostered patients, blood testing lab, and lastly, visitors. Since writing this last report to council, which has been about a month, we have had 1 physician reducer across approximately 550 patients. The second doctor will close practice at the end of June, and together this will increase our non-rostered patients by roughly 1,200, or a 10% reduction in the patient care through the FHO. From an MCC perspective, we will lose revenue of approximately 10,000 this year and 20,000 next year, unless there's some way we can do that. The goal of NCC is to deliver exceptional value to its tenants through a combination of fair rentals and financial incentives from the offers. NCC has a strong balance sheet, which is the residual of the initial funding. Because of this situation, we've been able to afford these increases with the second lowest in the county. And Lawyer Ritchie shared with us that our best recruitment tool is the reduction in cost for doctors to move into the region, i.e. low lease rates. In 2022, MCC engaged Canadian Engineering to perform a property condition assessment and financial analysis, which informed the MCC in determining reserve fund contribution for long-term financial planning. Based on the conclusions of this report, we must set aside $80,000 in contributions annually to the newly created capital expenditure reserve fund in order to sustain our facility through to 2055. It's a 30-year plan. We're striving to do so through income from our sustainability fund, which is the main residual of the initial fundraising, and through operations. Volunteers contribute time to assist MCC in carrying out this activity, but their fair market value are not recognized in financial statements. This is one of the reasons MCC can provide best-in-class facilities and services at a discount to market. We have a very strong volunteer organization. MCC was created as a community asset, and approximately 60% of MCC patients are from Douro-Dummer and South. These patients have benefited the most by virtue of usage and proximity. In conclusion, we believe sincerely that Northern Medical Center provides essential value to the community's future well-being, and that to sustain ourselves for decades to come. We need $80,000 cash a year away. We're asking the council to consider partnering with MNC by contributing to our ongoing financial needs. And thank you for your consideration. Floor is open for questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bagnall. Any questions from council? Nothing? Councilor Gore?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Watson, thank you very much, and thank you very much for the presentation as well. Definitely a lot to think about in here and quite timely information, given the list of speakers here tonight. So I think this is something we should take away and ponder and come back another time and revisit exactly this topic. And in the meantime, I'm quite certain that you folks will be reaching out to ask a few more questions before we dive really deep into it. So with that, I would like to make a motion to receive the presentation.
Councilor Watt, were you going to make a motion?
I'll second it. I'd like to ask a question, if I may, please.
Floor is yours.
Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for the presentation. And I know this township has supported the health center right since the very conception of it, so and I'm very, very proud of the fact that I was part of that right from the get-go, between taxes and the construction costs of severance and stuff. So, I mean, we certainly have done our fair share, but I hope we can continue to do that. Is there something from the committee, like a ballpark goal of what you're looking for from the township for a contribution, or is that something that's still in the works of talk?
We did put in an application. It was roughly $3,500.
35?
But we'd like to see a larger commitment because we're doing 30-year planning now of capital assets. So $3,500 isn't going to make or break a critical decision. But it's nice to know we have that financial support. And right now, with the whole situation with doctors, our fixed costs don't change when we have 2 doctors. We have empty spaces and we're only letting them out the healthcare community. So in one case, we had a suite in Iowa and Equity for over 2 years. These are some of the costs that we bear, even, you know, if you look at it overall, you would assume that we would be full enough.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do have a motion on the floor. If I could just ask a couple of questions before we go through that motion. Mr. Bignell, you mentioned about 60% of the patient roster are a combination between Selwyn and Douro-Dummer residents.
Don't imply any accuracy in that.
Fair enough, fair enough. My question isn't in that number so much as to Selwyn's contribution towards the facility. Have you, or are you making a similar request to Selwyn Township?
No, we're not. And the reason was really the rebate from the tax is what we're looking for. Initially, what we were for, and they were involved in because they didn't like that.
Understood. So the request that you're basically making this evening is, and I know just for the backstory though, you came to council 3 months ago, and made a request. We asked you to bring forward more information before we made a decision on that request. You're here now with that additional information, but the request remains the same. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Creamer, I don't see in the agenda package the original report that went to council with that request. Do you have it available to provide some clarification or explanation, background on that, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't have it in front of me, but the context is that there was a request made through our community grant program. Essentially, that the request was going to be above the $750. That's our threshold for whether or not staff approves the request or we bring it to council. We brought it to council. There was a delegation made, and then that's kind of where we were at. I believe the figure that's been put out of around $3,500 is correct, but I could confirm that if you give me just a couple of minutes. So that's the process that's been taken to date. Just a reminder that if we were to use the community grant program as a funding mechanism, the approved $5,000 is part of the 2024 budget. I believe there's about $1,700 remaining for the year.
Understood, thank you. And that's where I was trying to get at, where those funds were anticipated to come from. Okay, so at this point, we have a motion to receive the report. Any other questions or discussion on the motion? Councilor Watt?
Very Madam Mayor for me. So, and maybe Paul, you can answer this question. Is this request on top of, and maybe I think we've always done something with the taxes, whatever like that. I'm not sure whether we still are or whether we're not, but is this, if we are, is this on top of that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that would be kind of council's discretion. Like I said, as part of that funding, the $5,000, there's $1,700 remaining for this year. It would be up to council to kind of give direction. I could give some maybe recommendations where those funds could come from, but it would be up to council to approve that funding and where exactly it would come from. This year, given it's over and above what was budgeted, it would come from the reserve.
Okay, somebody needs to jump their mic. Councilor Johnston.
To the chair, well, I guess we need to vote on that motion.
We will.
We will do that first.
Okay. All right, so any discussion on the motion to receive the delegation at this point in time? No discussion, all in favor? That motion carries. Councilor Johnston, you had something you want to add?
Yeah, I didn't really think you answered that question 100%. The question was that, are we giving them credit on their taxes now without asking for anything else? We used to do that, I know. Do we still do that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the previous taxes that used to be waived or refunded were part of the council approval that dated from 2018 to 2022. And then there has been no such approval after those dates. So this request is outside of the previous council approval. And so there was no current approval and there was nothing in the budget for these funds.
All right, thank you. So I'm gonna make a motion that we, donate that $3,500 as we requested.
And, sorry, just miking here, and is that to come out of the grant program with the balance to be?
I think Paul can work on that, basically. And that's something Paul or whoever wants to take it out, but I would like to see them paid.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, Councilor Ward, are you seconding that?
Through you, Mayor Watson.
It's kind of comical.
It
We can
is.
only have two mics on at a time.
Through you,
so
Mayor
it's a
Watson.
little dance.
I would just like to follow up with a quick question. The family health organization that's currently operating out of the center, is it accepting or encouraging additional physicians to join the FO? Or is it closed as of right now?
I can't speak for the doctors who belong to that health organization. They run as independent businesses. They're just so. Talking to the doctors, they're always looking for additional support. One doctor I talked to, he was doing 42 visits a day. So if you look that up, it's less than 10 minutes a patient, which there's no patient care in that. So I think if you find someone who you feel that you work with it as part of their team, because that's one of the big considerations. Be able to recruit.
Through you, Mayor Watson, if I may just kind of finish up and following up on Councillor Johnson's motion. I think if I'm hearing correctly, what I would be in favor of, and I think Councillor Johnson is going, is for a rebate on the property taxes or waiving the property taxes. Is that a fair assumption?
I'm not sure what the property taxes are, but do you have any idea? It's all not likely. Did you? Maybe you can find it out.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I was able to pull up the request here. So the official request was actually for 50% of 2023 taxes and 50% of 2024. There was no request put in because the previous approval from council expired in 2022. It was not renewed, and there was no new request that came in for 2023. So the current request that has been made by the Martin Community Health Care Center for 2023 is $3,718 and 50 cents. For 2024, it would be $3,993 and 47 cents. Get my trusty calculator out, I can add those two numbers together, but it will be roughly 7,700, just over. I can get the exact number in a minute.
So you're saying that's for 2023 and 2024?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, that is the request that was made. And that, according to the delegation, that request has not changed.
Councilor Johnson, your motion?
The motion is to give them $3,500 this time.
Are you seconding that motion?
I will second that motion.
All right, any discussion to the motion? Councilor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you. I support this. As one of our residents said, this is a jewel in our township. We were very, very lucky to get it. It serves a lot of people, probably in this very room, that to get to use that Wharton Health Center with the doctors we have, and hopefully we'll get more in the future. But I think it's a very worthwhile thing for this council and this community to put money towards that to keep that thing in our township.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other discussion to the motion? We'll call the vote then. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the council for the considerations.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 8.3. We have a presentation from Mayor Patrick Wilford and Alan Hewitt, CAO, both with Douro-Dummer Township. Welcome, gentlemen. So you figured out the mic. Only two on at a time.
Too much, well, I don't need a mic.
It's the outside voices.
Right.
Okay, you're good.
Mayor Watson, Council, thank you for having us here tonight. We come to talk to you about the health of our communities. Kudos to the clerk for the theming of tonight too, that was. I feel like I'm gonna be saying a lot of the same stuff you've already heard, mostly because I'm gonna be saying a lot of the same stuff you've already heard. But there's all the new pieces in there that I hope you'll find interesting as well. So next slide, please. So, on May 11th, just less than a month ago, we had our grand opening of the new medical clinic. The first presenter mentioned the new medical clinic. Yeah, here we opened a new medical clinic. So we have 2 doctors, nurse practitioner. Right now, their focus is mostly on the patients of the doctor who retired in December. We have a 3rd doctor who is joining us this summer. We're hoping to roster between 1,500 and 2,000 patients with them, but that would be over a period of probably 6 to 9 months at least to do that. And we are also actively recruiting for a 4th doctor. So we've had a couple different conversations in the last month, but that is something that is a priority for us, and we're working hard to make that happen. Next slide. So these are some pictures of our new clinic space. This is a state-of-the-art facility. It was tailored to the medical team's needs. So we had conversations with the doctors who've taken over. What do you need? What can we do for you? This is how we ended up with this. So this is sort of the nice part of the presentation. These are good news stories. Now we get into some of the stuff you've heard already, but I'm going to reinforce some of it. So next slide, please. So as you've been hearing all night, healthcare is a challenge in Ontario. This is not a Peterborough County issue. This is an Ontario, this is a North America issue. We're seeing the same challenges everywhere, and we are looking for solutions. We have a solution at Upstate Norway, but we need some help with that solution. So I think probably to me, one of the scariest numbers is the number of Ontario residents who don't have a family doctor is currently sitting around 2.3 million people. According to OMA, that is expected to double in the next 2 years. This problem is not going away. This problem is only going to get worse. And that's why as a municipality, we decided to try and do something about it. So our residents have told us healthcare, doctor care is a priority for them. That's why we made some of the decisions that we did. Next slide, please. So our local challenges are based on information from the IA and the Peterborough area. We are short at least 40 doctors. When we made the announcement last fall that we'd be opening this new medical clinic, almost immediately we started getting contact from people asking to be put on the wait list. The current wait list that we have is 2,500 people. Now, those numbers have been shared with the county recruiter. She has that information from us. Those 2,500 people, that wasn't just Peterborough, it wasn't just Upstate Norway, it wasn't just Douro-Dummer, it was from across the county and outside of the county. Some of the distances, we were shocked when we got some of those phone calls that people from Belleville would be calling here and Kingston would be calling here if you wanted to come on our list. That's the kind of problem that we're trying to manage. So of the list that we've got going, almost 300 of those residents on the waiting list are from Douro-Dummer, and that doesn't include the approximately 100 residents from Douro-Dummer who moved over when the old doctors, patients moved to the new clinic. Next slide, please. So our solution. In March, our new clinic opened. We had our grand opening in May. Our focus has been on the current patients that are there, also knowing that we need to address more because of the need. We have a new doctor that is expected to start this summer of 2024. And as I said earlier, we expect them to roster somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 patients, but that's going to take some time. We're working ongoing to get a 4th doctor in there. I was over at the clinic today, actually meeting with the 2 doctors, talking to them about different things and different pieces. They're also looking at other ideas, potentially having specialists come in once a month in different cases like that because we have the space to do it right now. Next slide, please. So we are committed to doing everything we can to get the people on the waiting list a doctor. Our goal is to ensure the required healthcare needs of this area are there for everybody who needs it. People who need healthcare, they don't recognize borders. What they know is that they need a doctor and they need this help. Next slide. So our current status. Currently, all costs associated with the medical center are being covered by the taxpayers of the Township of Douro-Dummer. Almost $600,000 was spent on capital startup costs, of which just over $200 was received by donations. We anticipate yearly operating costs for the medical center to be approximately $4,500. I wish it was. That would have been great. It's not. It's $450,000. Next slide, please. Now, oh, sorry. One of the things we're doing also to work on this is we have a request in. We're going to AMO. We've asked to meet with the province at bring them to the table, or try to continue to bring them to the table. So that is a piece. We're not just looking at municipal solutions. We're trying to look at as many possible solutions as we can. So we recognize we're halfway through 2024. You're halfway through your budget year. We understand. We appreciate that. What we're asking for, if there's any assistance that we can provide during 2024, we would greatly appreciate it. We're also asking that for your budget cycle for 2025, that you consider helping where we can here. What we're looking for is help with the administration side of things, and we're looking, the number we've come up with based on the people we've talked to, which is approximately $150 a patient. Our budget cycle for 2025 is going to start in probably September of this year. Yours is probably something very similar. Again, we would ask for consideration when you guys are going through your process. Next slide, please. The mayor also has some comments that he would like to make.
Thank you, Mayor Watson, for your time. Sorry, people, but you're going to hear a lot of the same stuff over and over. It's all medical. Let me give you a little background. On the 2022 campaign trail through strategic planning exercises, healthcare has been identified as a top priority by members of our community time and time again. We recognize that the healthcare is not a municipal issue. It's a provincial issue, but that system is broken and the province isn't stepping up to the plate. So we did the work, we connected with physicians, we listened to their wants, we removed the administration burden of managing the building and staff so they can focus on what they do best, and that's patient care. We took an approach that no one else in Ontario is doing, and we were successful. Within the family health team committed in our area for the next 25 years. In 18 months, we had attracted 3 doctors. Last fall, the township began compiling a wait list of unattached patients, and Asphodel Norwood is all we were looking at, and took those phone calls and heard the heartbreaking stories from all over Ontario. When you hear staggering numbers of people who don't have a doctor, it's one thing, but to hear people's stories and then be part of the solution that our residents and local communities have access to healthcare is truly a win-win for everyone. We have taken the proactive approach, and I'll be the first to admit, we're still learning lessons as we go. But as we move forward, our commitment is to address everybody on that waiting list. We want to be transparent about the process and keep everybody who's working with us in the loop. We need your help, and we were happy to come back at regular intervals to provide updates on the work that has been taking place. CAO Alan Hewitt, and I appreciate your time today and would welcome any questions that you may have consideration with. Something else that I did want to also say, the ones that get in with us at this time, I can see in a year's time or 2 years' time, it'll be a board that's set up that's a lot like the Fairhaven board. If you're involved in it, you'll be part of that board. We've talked with 3 other municipalities. You're the 3rd now. We're looking at the east part of the county. Why does somebody from Cabin Monaghan want to drive to Norwood? Is what we're looking at. We're looking at the ones in this area. It's easy access. The builders that we talked to looked after the building. They put in a dentist, there's a dentist office in there now. There's pharmacy, there's audiology, and there's also, therapy? Therapy in there. Any questions?
Mayor Wilford, thank you very much for your presentation. Council, any questions? Councilor Report. Hold on.
There we go. Thank you. Through you, Mayor Watson. Just a couple of really quick questions. The physicians that are operating in the facility right now, are they operating under the umbrella of the facility, or is it a family health organization?
Family health organization.
Second question, who owns the building? Is it the township?
Private investors.
It's a private investor.
We leased for 25 years.
I guess where I was going with this was, it sure would be slick if patients could say, you know what, I've got some extra money in the bank and I'm really happy with the service that's being provided to me in the community. I would like to make a rather handsome donation to the facility. It doesn't sound like that may be possible, or is it?
Oh, it's possible.
Okay.
We've had donations from all kinds.
Perfect. As long as donations can continue, I think that's,
In Douro-Dummer themselves with on our waiting list, I think we're up to 440 now. We were only operating the phones for maybe 2 months if that, and it was up to 286 Douro and Dummer residents. We do share some services now, being the municipalities around that. We share IT services, fire services, and I can see down the road that municipalities are going to have to start working a lot more together because the provincial and federal government are not studying.
Any other questions from council? Okay, well, what would you like to do, folks? Councilor Report.
through you, Mayor Watson, I would like to make a motion to receive the report with thanks.
All right, anyone wanting to second that? Councilor Johnston, any discussion to the motion? Councilor Watt.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I would like to also ask if they could revamp a little bit to get our interim treasurer, Mr. Kramer, to look at our finances and see where we are for this year, if there's any hidden money, like I mean in the past presentation, that to go this year, and then for 2025, have it as part of our budget talks, if that's permissible to the two.
So it would probably be easier if we bring the front motions. We'll just deal with the motions received, and then Councilor Watt, you can make a second motion. Is that probably cleaner?
That works for me.
Okay, so any discussion on the floor with respect to receiving the presentation? Seeing no discussion, all in favor? That motion carries. Councilor Watt, the floor is yours.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Okay, so as I said earlier, I would like to make a motion that we ask our interim treasurer, Mr. Kramer, to look at if we have any hidden funds for 2024 to help out, because obviously it's helping quite a number of our residents, and that number could grow with as more people find out about it. And look to 2025 to have it on our budget for deliberation and see where we are with it at that time, and maybe have more of a number by that time, how many Douro-Dummer people are there, and go from there with where our possible contribution may be.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councilor Johnston. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are now moving into our public comment period. This section is for registered delegates. There were 3 who we have on the agenda, thank you, who registered, and it's a 5-minute speaking period for each of those delegates. So first up, we have April Hope. Yes, oh, folks, yeah, certainly. Come on and move up and sit down if you'd like to fill in on those seats. maybe we'll just wait a moment for people to get settled here. Okay, when you're ready.
I'm gonna set my own alarm this time. I guess I actually don't have anything prepared exactly to speak to. I do have this, response that we put together to Dawn's report. I did want to say that, I wasn't gonna speak tonight because, when Dawn put out his original report, he targeted me personally, my name in it. Which, I mean, I know you can say what you want to say, but coming up here, it's a bit of a sacrifice of mine. I don't know how many times staff may have looked into my private property. I'm not sure, that's hard to find out, but I do feel like, coming forward today, I was called a liar by one of the council members, so that did happen. I have to thank the community so much. I could not have done it if we hadn't filled the seats every time for this, and for everyone who came to the town hall, what a blessing. Because this does matter, you know, and I know I was told today as well, that 700 signatures, you know, that doesn't represent our whole community, and I know that, but I would say having this room filled this many times with people who care about this, it needs to be heard. Speak to the councilors and the mayor today, and I would say my conversation with the mayor was good. I do feel like she wants to work with us. Now, I wasn't expecting to be able, part of the reason is I was hoping to be able to speak to what the councilors spoke on. I won't be able to do that anymore, it's been moved, but I guess we did provide a report in response to Don's report, and I do want to clarify a couple of things. I'm going to check with them. So in terms of the concept of misinformation that keeps getting pushed around, that, you know, like the public is misinformed, that is not true. We have done our very best to ensure that the public is informed of exactly what's going on in the most transparent way we could. With a lot of work and effort from a whole bunch of people to hopefully bring some change here to our community going forward. So the one thing, and I think we're gonna be able to post a report so everyone can read it about our responses. It is really interesting. I mean, it doesn't sound like it, but it is. But in terms of the one thing I wanted to bring forward was the faulty septic image that was produced at the last council meeting. So we did our research. We can go into details about everything that was in that, but I did want to clarify with the public that, so we did our research, this faulty septic image, when we Googled blue barrel septics, the first results that are brought up are do-it-yourself videos and how to use blue barrels for tiny homes. So when we researched tiny homes, Douro-Dummer, an article came up titled "Tiny Footprint, Tiny Foothold for Tiny Homes in Douro-Dummer," in which Brian Fawcett argues that basically that he's moving forward, whether the legislation is there or not, to put tiny homes and allow them in our municipality. So on that, he says that tiny homes can be built in one of two ways, either on a foundation or on a trailer. Building on a trailer helps eliminate the cost of the foundation and hookups to services such as sewage. So when you look up tiny homes and you Google Douro, there are Airbnbs right now in our municipality that are tiny homes. So you're telling me that that blue barrel septic that was taken on March 16th was based to show us that people in our municipality are negligent, when in real fact, most likely they were permitted as a class 1 or a class 2 sewage in this municipality during that time. I just want everyone to be aware of that, because that to me is misinformation, and that was used against the people to try to prove something that was not correct.
Well, you're here.
Been exhausting, I will say, and I feel like I'm playing pickleball, and I don't even know what that is, where I'm just trying to bat off constant pressure coming at us it is not our onus to prove that these septic re-inspections are necessary for our people. It's on you. It's on you to provide the data. It's on you to provide, if 90, so if only 3 septic in 750, which again, there's no real data, that is a concern. The fact that they brought forward no real data, I'm done. Anyways. 99.6% of septics in this municipality were deemed to be okay. No enforcement. The 2018 resolution stands that we are good stewards of our home and our environment. And we're staying in government overreach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hope. We also have registered Marie Howard.
She's not able to make it.
Oh, is she not?
She had to go to a funeral, so she's traveling. She just couldn't make it in time.
Understood. Okay, thank you for that. Then on to Nadine Allison-Bay. Did you want me to set the line for you, or are you setting your own?
Okay. I'd like to speak to our council members in regards to what's going to be voted on. The septic re-inspection program, as it's covered under the Ontario Building Code, is a service request or complaint based. When it was brought forth into the municipality by Brian Fawcett, it was brought in under something completely different than what the public was made aware of. There wasn't enough public engagement. When we held the town hall meeting, before we had our own, town hall, before we hosted our own town hall, there were many people within our community that had no idea that there was even a septic re-inspection program going on. So that should raise alarm bells to say that perhaps council didn't do due diligence in notifying the public. And maybe holding their own town hall would have given them an opportunity, such as we had, to hear the outcry. Now, Deputy Mayor Nelson, during the May 21st meeting, said, well, I've seen this room be filled with more people that were for septic inspections.
Right.
I like to see them, because I haven't seen a single person who's been for septic re-inspections to come up here and review what we've talked about, the reports that have been done, the information that's been done, the petition that 700 signatures or more don't matter. There's been a lot of time and effort put into this, as April has said. It's been a collaborative community effort. People in the community saw that there was a need for something, and instead of our council seeing that need and reaching out, we decided to do it. It wasn't to, backdoor council or anything like that. It was to have a voice and to be heard. And yet again, every time we come and speak in front of council, it feels that we're not being heard. So it took a grassroots movement to discover there was no actual bylaw to authorize the inspections of septic systems. So zone 1 and zone 2, people, paid for $150 sniff test. And I've talked to people personally that have said, yes, they came. I didn't know who this person was getting out of the vehicle. It was some young lad. And they talked to me about my side by side. And then at the end of the conversation, I said, oh, what are you here for? Oh, no, it's okay. You're good. I'm just here to look at your septic, but everything looks good. The bed looks good. It smells good. We're good. Well, I live on a farm. You're going to come and inspect my septic. You're going to smell something that should be in a septic system. Maybe I pass or fail. I don't know. But for people to pay $150 for that, that's ridiculous. All I am asking is for council to be accountable, to actually show us the transparency that we've been asking for. There's been mistakes made. Acknowledge them. Own up to it. Apologize. Apology. We're asking for acknowledgement that there was wrongs that were done. And it's okay to admit that you're wrong. And it's okay to look for solutions within the community to move forward, because after all, that's what we're looking for. Is we're looking to not be railroaded and to not be shut out, to have a voice. And obviously by having this room be filled every time someone comes to speak to the concerns of the community, it should tell you that we need to have a voice. And for nobody else to be here saying, I'm in favor of septic re-inspections, I think the program's great, you know, let's have more government overreach, government be harder. You know, nobody's here saying that. So we're here saying, no, we don't want it. I'm not saying to abolish. There are things that I'm sure that could do for a septic re-inspection. Clean source water protected areas, obviously, we need to make sure that we're managing those. But for the majority of people here, we're good stewards of our land. We know how to operate our septic systems. We get them pumped out regularly. We put the good bacteria in there to feed the septic system so that it runs properly, so that we're not having to pay $30,000 or $40,000. People are stressed over this. People are getting health concerns over this. It's not the fact of the $150. It's, oh my gosh, well, what if someone comes and sniffs and, you know, says my septic isn't up to par, and now I've got to pay $36,000 to $40,000 for a new one. We just want you to acknowledge there was no bylaw to authorize septic re-inspections for zone 1 and 2. It was done unauthorized. We want it acknowledged. We want an apology and move forward with it to say, how can we fix this? How can we make it better? Let's give transparency to this township, to the municipality, and to all of the people that live here.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis-Fay. At this point in the agenda, we are going to move down to staff reports, and we do have the draft building bylaw and septic re-inspection program on the agenda further down. So we'll acknowledge perhaps some of those comments during that portion of the meeting. So now we are moving on to staff reports. And we have the item 10.1 report and capital project status. Just looking for any questions or items to discuss from council, and if not, a motion to receive. Councillor Watt, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? And that motion carries. Folks, just asking to keep it down in the gallery a little bit so we can hear what's going on here. Item 10.3, is that where we're at? Yeah. The budget schedule and target, and that's from our treasurer, interim treasurer, Mr. Krieger. Over to you, sir.
You can go outside and talk.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So the report in front of you, there's two objectives of this report. First is to establish the budget schedule and the process that we will undertake for the 2025. It's hard to believe we're talking about 2025, but here we are. So the process we'll undertake to establish that budget. So the process that I've outlined follows the same process that we undertook last year. The change, though, that I'm proposing is a little bit of a change in the timing. Last few years, I've targeted an adoption prior to year end. This year, I'm proposing that we move adoption further out to January, early February. And the reason being is that we have the auditors coming in early September, and that's just a priority for our department to complete that year end work. I would say that there are some other benefits to the schedule. We are in the middle of a CAO recruitment right now, and this gives them a little bit of time to get up to speed and have input on the budget as well. It also allows us to get some of the finalized figures earlier in the process that are out of our control, such as the police levy and conservation authority levy. Second objective of this report, and it's kind of getting or addressing some comments that we received during the process last year. This is to give direction to staff to present the budget at CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index for September. What this does not mean is that we are looking to approve the budget at this figure as of today. Just a target for staff to present and to work towards as we put together the budget. There very well could be items that we are not able to fit into the budget, and if that's the case, we will outline those, and then it would be up to council's discretion what to do with those items. And then it would also be alternatively the council's discretion to remove items in order to lower the levy requirement. So that's the report in front of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Creamer. Any questions from council on the report? Councilor Report?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Watson, just kind of a question that ties into here. The 2023 financial statements, what is the timeline to have those completely finalized? Sorry.
I will back up, through you, Madam Mayor, I will back up Councilor Report. Just slightly, the 2022 will be presented at the next council meeting. And in 2023, the auditors are scheduled to be on site the week after Labor Day. And typically they require about 4 weeks post-audit to kind of finalize everything and complete the statements.
Through you, Mayor Watson, thank you for that. With that, I'd like to make a motion to receive and follow the recommendation.
And follow the recommendations?
Thank you.
Okay, you had your hand up also.
No, I-
I'm assuming,
just-
earlier. Any comments on, so we have a motion, Councilor Report, second by Councilor Watt. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you very much. We now have calendar dates for 2025, it looks like, so thank you, although it seems far away. Moving on to item 10.4, our purchasing report, also over to you, Mr. Kimmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an information report for council. We issued RFQ PR 2024-1, which was for a compressor replacement at the Warsaw Community Center. The township received one response to this RFQ, or request for quotation. The response was from Simcoe Refrigeration. The quote was under $50,000 and within budget. And so as per the procurement policy, the staff awarded the contract with CAO approval. And this is the report to meet the procurement policy, which requires us to notify council of that report.
Okay, so on this one, we're just looking for a motion to receive. Any questions, Councilor Report?
Just a motion to receive.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Nelson, your hand is up, seconding that. Any discussion to the motion? Before we pass that, I just actually have a question. In terms of the report says that only one bid was received from Simcoe. I know we work with Simcoe in our facilities. Can you speak to the fact that there was only one, and I apologize, it's coming out of procurement and our manager of Parks and Rec isn't here, but do you have any idea why we only received one?
So, through you, Madam Mayor, Chief, Madam Mayor, it can be difficult to say exactly why when these situations arise. We can kind of guess. My guess would be that it's a niche kind of product and item that we're looking for in terms of a compressor for an arena. There's only so many companies out there that will be able to provide it, and then combine that with our location. There's only so many companies in the Peterborough area that it would be worthwhile for them to respond to it. That would be my guess, but we can't ever say for sure.
Understood. Thank you very much. So we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. On to item 10.5, community grants request. Mr. Creamer, back over to you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, this report is to provide council with an update on the community grant program to date. The plan is whenever we get any requests coming in, we'll provide council at the earliest date possible. So we did receive a request from the Ontario Federation of School Athletic Associations. A lot of people will know them as OFSA. The request was for $250. Purpose was to cover miscellaneous expenses for their AAA OFSA Girls Rugby Championship, which was held yesterday at Thomas A. Stewart Secondary School. So in our review, in our staff review, the application met all criteria of policy. And given the fact that it was under $750, it was staff's discretion. And the outcome was that we were awarded the $250 request to the applicant.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor
Make a
Johnson.
motion to follow the recommendation. We did favor.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Watt.
With comment.
With a comment.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. And probably as most people in this room know, but it never hurts to reiterate, once Bleakfield High School closed down, a lot of our residents now go to Thomas H. Stewart. So, you know, our children go there to forget. So this is promoting, for our township and for our kids. So it's not just a willy-nilly, hey, somebody asked for some money kind of thing. This promotes our children that go to that school.
And you seconded that, correct?
Yes, it did.
Awesome. Any discussion of the motion? All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. Folks, I've noticed a few seats have opened up. If anybody wants to come in and have a seat, there's 2 or 3 or 4, maybe even 5. Come on in, make yourself comfortable. On to item 10.6, the annual building department financial report. Mr. Kramer, back over to you. I know, you're a popular man tonight.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, we want to talk about everything. So this report is being provided to meet the requirements of the Ontario Building Code Act. Does summarize the 2022 financials for the building department. Report shows that the building department had a surplus of $7,000, 884 cents, $884.10. This is to be added to the existing building department reserve, resulting in a current balance of $249,825.
Thank you. Council, over to you.
Proceed. Thanks.
Councillor Watt has made the motion to receive, seconded by Councillor Verboort. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Madam Clerk? So the clerk is just looking for the motion to receive is actually to approve the recommendation. Is that what the clarification was? Done and done. Do you need it? Have a motion on that? No, we don't. Thank you. Okay, so we are on to 10.7, the development charge statement. Mr. Kramer.
For you, Madam Mayor, in front of you is the 2023 development charge statement. So this report outlines the development charges received and spent by the township and the resulting reserve balances for each reserve. One note that's not highlighted in the report, but it's an opportune time to make note of it. Staff have been working on a updated development charge study, which will be posted on our website by the morning and will be presented to council in full at the next council meeting, followed by a public meeting on the study at the August 6th or council.
Okay, thank you. Way down, Mr. Kramer, sorry. Any questions on the report? Looking for some direction here. Councilor Johnson. Follow the recommendation. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor? And that also carries. Okay, on to the 10.8 draft building bylaw. Over to Mr. Hellman.
Thank you. Sorry, just getting the documents. Thank you so much. So council, in front of you, you have my report, 2024-07. The request from council was to speak to 3 issues. One was how many inspections that have been completed. The other is how many systems. Oh, sorry.
We're on the bylaw.
So we have the building bylaw in front of you. The bylaw number is 2024-31. As it was identified that there was not a standalone or a comprehensive bylaw to address the septic re-inspection or the sewage system maintenance inspection program. Though it was a resolution to council in 2018, or sorry, I apologize, 2019, and to be implemented in 2020, it was done by confirming bylaw. Through review, it was best to bring it forward as part of our building bylaw as an amendment. We sought legal advice on being able to make it retroactive to cover the work that had already been done. So you'll see that this program is outlined in Schedule B of the proposed bylaw. meets the intent that council had of the day on how the program is to be administered. And it covers us for the work that had already been done. Maybe a few points of order on this are, we have our zone schedule as Appendix A. And you'll note that Zone 2 has a note for the, a note that appendices, and it's that the fees were waived for Zone 2. So again, this is something, this bylaw is meant to give us the authority to do these things. So Zone 1, the inspections were done, the lids were lifted. It was a building official who did the inspections, and the fees were invoiced and charged, or and paid. Zone 2, due to COVID, the decision was made not to lift lids. We understand that a building inspector of the municipality did not complete the inspections and did not lift the lids. And as such, one of the recommendations we had brought in front of council prior to this was that these fees are waived in Zone 2. And again, this bylaw confirms the ability for us to be able to do that and waive those fees. So that's accounted for in Appendix A. We're bringing forward today a new building bylaw. One of the reasons that we're doing that is there were some minor housekeeping adjustments made with the bylaw as well. And that rather than just amending it, we brought a whole new bylaw forward. So we're repealing the old 2 bylaws and keeping this one in front of you. One of the other changes that I will address that was brought forward was the, there was a note in, or sorry, one of the sections that talked about our working days, it had excluded Fridays. Fridays have been re-added into this. So operationally, we've already been doing that. But in this scenario, we're administratively capturing it in this amendment as well, or in this new bylaw. My apologies. Everything else, well, same except for some minor housekeeping, stays the same as the building bylaw. The really big change here is in the septic maintenance inspection program, and it talks about the mandatory inspections and the discretionary inspections for program. So we have the source water protection, which is mandatory, and then we have the discretionary that is through the rest of the township. I have this before you to be adopted, and then I think there's further conversation still the council is going to have on that. Or is this the time? Sorry.
This septic reinspection program?
Yeah.
That's the next item on the.
Yeah. So this is our bylaw. So we'd like
This is the bylaw we're talking about.
that we'd like to have.
Are you done with your report then? Okay, thank you. Comments, questions from council? Councilor report.
Through you, Mayor Watson, just for the sake of clarity, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. This bylaw is essentially just updating what's already there, kind of how the township has operated in the past, and kind of an administrative oversight or administrative mistake where this one document wasn't incorporated into the bylaw, or the bylaw wasn't replaced with this amendment. And this now captures reality, doesn't change what's happened in the past or change fees of what were charged in the past, just updates the bylaw to reflect what actually happened, and now sets things forward to be in the same position going forward, should council opt to keep everything the same as it is right now, but it's more clearly spelled out in the appropriate. Is that the correct summary of it?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Councilor report. Exactly.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Read my comment, please. Thank you. Any other questions for council? Councilor report.
I would like to make a motion to receive this bylaw and enact.
Wow.
At this point, are you looking to make a motion on the recommendation?
Yes.
Thank you.
To follow the recommendation. Yes.
Council, any other, looking for someone to second that motion? Deputy Mayor Nelson? Folks, please, we're trying to have a meeting here, we ask that you keep it down. Councilor Johnston, comments to the motion, discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I know that it seems to be coming in the back door here, but we still have to do this. It should have been done, and it wasn't done, there was no oversight. And obviously, like speak for council, that personally, we did not know this wasn't done. So I guess, number one, it don't help to, make us upset that it wasn't done, but now we have to do it. No matter what we do, no matter what we do on the inspection end of it, we'll talk about that. But the bylaw has to go in for anything we do, and it's retrofit, anything we have done, anything we will be doing in the future. So, that's why I put this there.
No, thank you, Councillor Johnson. Any other comments or discussion on the motion? Councillor Johnson, your mic is still on if you just help with that. I'll speak to the motion. I agree with Councillor Johnson. This is a really crappy situation to be in, literally and figuratively, where, you know, what the bylaw is before us right now is really to fix an administrative error. The intent, there should have been a bylaw that goes back to 2019, like 2020 and 21. There absolutely should have been a bylaw in place. And we've since received legal counsel that we are able to put this in retrospectively, thank you. And it sucks. It lacks transparency. I agree, like to go back into time and try and right the wrong. We're not passing the septic inspection program on a going forward basis. That's a different discussion. That's the next agenda item. What we're talking about here right now is what was done in 2020 and 2021, the 2 years prior when the program was first adopted. We should have passed a bylaw, just straight up. And thank you for the folks who brought that forward. You know, it's important to make sure that we're doing this administratively correct. And now we're trying to go back in time and fix that. And then our next report is going to be looking at the going forward piece. But going back in time, we've got to pass this bylaw to make it proper. I think that it's an interesting note, and we're pointing out that, you know, 2021 inspections weren't really, you know, a full inspection, the service that was intended. People didn't pay for that service because of that reason. But it's also captured in there because we were doing a level of inspection, just a level of inspection that we would typically have wanted under that time. So I agree with Councillor Johnson. It's, you know, I'm support the motion, but you know, it's under duress really to a degree, because I feel challenged by the fact that we are going back in time, but I understand from legal counsel that we're able to do that. Any other discussion of the motion, Councillor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I agree fully. We made a mistake. No, we're admitting that. We made a mistake back then, whether it was clerical, whether it was council, whether it was whatever. We made a mistake, and we're owning up to it. Our legal counsel told us this is how we go about to make it right for what we've done so far. And if we're going to go forward, it covers us. If we're going, okay, so, and that's where we are right now. That's the next discussion, like Mayor Watts said. So as of right now, this is just going to cover housekeeping thing from our solicitors. So that's basically what we're doing right now. But yes, we made a mistake. No ifs, ands, and buts about it, and we're owning up to it.
Okay, so any other discussion on the motion? Deputy Mayor Nelson?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. If I might just make a comment. Again, I was totally unaware. I had a conversation earlier with April, so I publicly want to actually apologize, April, for what I had said about making a motion. I've been around council a long time. And until we got some actual legal advice, I can assure you, being around the council table a long time, when I got my marching orders from council, and this has always been the way, when we do a when we make a motion and it's passed at this council chamber, and then we make a confirming bylaw. At the end of the meeting, that generally covers off any decision we might make, folks. So in all honesty, every single one of us up here is not. We done, in the past council, there was 2 councils ago, I believe, that done this. So when that confirming bylaw went in, it did legally allow staff to carry on with what they were supposed to do, or the work that they're on our behalf. And people can be upset all they want, but I can tell you, we are owning up to it tonight as far as this confirming bylaw. And what we're doing is just passing this so that we're legal and it's a legal, actual decision of council in the past. So if I might put it that way, that's how I see it. And unfortunately, but I do want to apologize, April. I very much, what I told you was in sincere, honesty, and not any slight towards you or anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, so we've had lots of discussion on the motion, so at this point, I will call the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so now we are on to so many papers. Item 10.1, the subject reinspection program update on comments on the delegation. Mr. Hellman, I'll turn the floor over to you.
So again, council, my apologies for earlier, now you have in front of you.
You speak up.
Hopefully that's better.
No.
Keep it
The speakers back here don't work. We talked about it before, but.
You'll just need to bring the mic closer to your face.
Okay, there we
There
go.
you go.
My fault. So council, before you is 2024-07. I think that you've had the report in front of you, you know the 3 items that I'm speaking to, which is inspections completed, how many systems had issues or complete failure, and there were recommendations contained in the report that was previously presented on May 21, 2024, agenda item 8.2. I won't go through the entire report. I think most people are aware of what my report states and how many inspections.
We typically will go through the report with like a summary of the report. It's not required to read the report verbatim. That's not typical. It's how we would go through that. So carry on with your summary, please.
So our summary of the report was that we conducted between 725 and 750 inspections. We have approximately 50% of the systems inspected appear to be operated and maintained in compliance with section 8.9 of the code. Also, we had 3 systems that required to be replaced due to failure. Of those other systems that we talked about, a lot of that was an education piece. So we have, we talked to previous inspectors who completed have done the inspections, and they talked about homeowners who, when they attended site, maybe didn't understand where their septic tank was. There was discussion of the pump chamber being the tank, maybe didn't understand where all the components were, where the bed was placed, where they couldn't kind of compress the soil and could risk damaging the bed. We talked about plantings. So some people would plant trees or gardens near or on the bed. So that stuff was noted to be corrected. Voluntary compliance became a part of that. So there was no really action to be taken. And so then what that really brings it down to for me is and sort of we have all the 11 recommendations. Sort of council, are you looking for me to give a summary of all the 11 recommendations on like where we stand as far as whether council should seek legal advice?
Council, have you read the report that's in front of you? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you let the people know what we got.
Okay.
Highlight.
So, okay, so we included 11 recommendations in this report. Recommendation number 1 was that Douro-Dummer Council rescind any and all bylaws / process fees pertaining to a discretionary septic reinspection process in the municipality and resolve to not approach the subject again without engaging in a said vote. I addressed the fact that the topic would be in front of council for some time. It's aimed to protect the environment, health and safety of the public. And with administration of the program appropriately, we think that the program is still a program that has benefit to it for the health and safety of occupants and the environment. The building department is offering to write a brief document to help clarify some of the concerns that the public has, whether it be on us not communicating appropriately, or what have you, in trying to talk about the idea that we aren't going there to look into other code violations or other construction that's existed, but rather our scope of the project is under section 8.9 of the code, and it's just operation and maintenance of the sewage system. We then talked about whether council may wish the building department to revisit what properties are subject to the program. And so, for example, whether it's just waterfront properties or properties in higher density areas, that's something that we would need to bring back to council to decide whether the township could be split into, whether the program isn't to be administered for all of the properties within the township, if we are allowed to outside of the mandatory program, so under the discretionary program only, if we're allowed to choose specific properties, or if the intent is that once you implement the discretionary program, it's to be on all properties. And so we would have further research to do on that, but can bring a report back to council on whether there's an opportunity for that as well. We also suggest that council may want to seek legal advice on any of the potential liabilities of terminating the program or modifying the program, and whether they can implement it on specific properties. And really, the end of that is just that we can do further research and bring a report back to council on that matter. Item 2 was that members of council and municipal / planning staff hold a special public meeting within 2 weeks of receipt of the report with respected members of the building, business, and construction community of Douro-Dummer. So this would be local volunteers and construction experts. They would form a new Douro-Dummer building and development watchdog group to address concerns and bring forward solutions to all manners of issues in the Douro-Dummer building and planning division, and with full transparency, open communication, and no fear of retaliation. And my address was that the managers of both departments are willing to meet with any member of the public to have that open communication and discuss any concerns or questions that they may have. We believe that the fear of retaliation is unfounded and unwarranted, as for us, there's no information available to support this planning project.
Come on, people.
The creation of a township-led committee of respected members of the building community we feel is problematic and unnecessary, given the willingness of staff to meet with the public. The problem aspect of that would be who would decide what individuals / companies would get to participate. And such a suggestion appears to be exclusionary and non-transparent. So council may want to seek again legal advice on this matter. Staff has, so again, we communicated with 2 of the delegates from the May 21st, 2024 meeting and advise them of the willingness of staff to meet and hear the concerns and to reiterate our commitment to improving our departments. At the time of writing this report, we just hadn't had a meeting date confirmed. One of the discussions that we did have, if I could add to my report, is one of the changes of the Friday being added in this bylaw, the working day, was as a result of having a conversation with one of the delegates. And so definitely appreciate that open communication, and we're able to access for that, even though it was operationally happening administratively, we're able to correct it. Number 3, the question was that the Freedom of Information, or the recommendation, my apologies, is that the Freedom of Information Act fees are waived for research purposes with regard to building division and planning department queries by the proposed Douro-Dummer building and development watchdog in order to facilitate further reports, solutions, and recommendations. My comment on that was that it falls inside the scope of my role within the building department and would be left to appropriate staff to comment on. Number 4, the building bylaw 2021-74 be reviewed and revised to ensure that staff are meeting the minimum expectations of the construction and building industry, property owners, taxpayers in this community, as well as the minimum requirements of the administrative provisions of Division Part 1 of the Ontario Building Code. The revised bylaw is to be presented to the public for discussion and approval. My note is that there's currently a proposed bylaw before council, which is 2021-74, That's repealed and replaced by law 2024-31. Again, as I've already spoken to this topic, the changes were minimal, saving except the items pertaining to the sewage system inspection program. Again, we reiterate that if a member of the public feels there's an issue with the bylaw preventing the department from meeting the minimum requirement for building code, they can bring that concern to myself. Then number 5, that policy number P4, code and conduct, chief building official policy. He reviewed and revised with enhanced improvements to governing expectations, both for the acting building official and municipal administrative governing that authority, CAO/acting CAO, and detailed the disciplinary actions that may be taken if breach to be presented to the public for discussion and approval. Again, my comments are that this falls inside the scope of myself and the building department, and will be left for appropriate staff to comment on, and that council may wish to see input by some of the staff. Number 6 was that Douro-Dummer council review the staffing and assent allocation of the building and planning departments, or asset allocation of the building and planning departments at the municipality with respect to the actual needs of the municipality and in consideration of the economic downturn. Also, sustaining the justification behind hiring a planning staff of Peterborough County is in charge of our local planning decisions at this time. My note for that is that council and staff review departmental needs and budgets on an annual basis. The province, the county, and the township each have specific roles with respect to planning decisions. The county is not in charge of all of the planning decisions as they relate to the township. And prior to the hiring of a full-time planner, the township did conduct a thorough review and the need for a full-time township planner and provided justification for such a position. Number 7, the Douro-Dummer council disclosed to its taxpayers any legal liability incurred due to the actions of the staff of this township since 2017 with regards to the building and planning division. And this falls inside the scope of my position in the building department. We left for appropriate staff to comment on. Council may wish to see legal advice on this matter. Number 8, that the municipality publishes a public apology to the taxpayers and business community of Douro-Dummer and the Peterborough Examiner and Lakefield Herald, as well as on social media and the municipal website in an active period. Again, this falls outside the scope of my role within the building department and will be left with the appropriate staff. Number 9, that Douro-Dummer council and public be provided by the clerk a complete summary of all discussions, resolutions, actions of past council prior to the enactment of any and all bylaws, resolutions, or major process decisions with clear legislative reasoning behind them, including the Planning Act, Building Code Act, Ontario Building Code, etc., to avoid any internal and external misdirection. Again, this falls outside the scope of my position within the building department and will be left in the appropriate staff. 10, that council considers the obligations for members of council to declare personal interest in addition to the current obligation to state pecuniary interest and at all council meetings. And this falls inside the scope of my role within the building department. Let the appropriate staff comment on. Number 11, that Douro-Dummer council and the new CAO of the township undertake an audit and business process review of the building and planning department that incorporates performance and service standards in accordance with public expectations. In the interim, a monthly report of building division and planning permits and applications should be published and available to the public on the township website. Council and CAO undertakings are outside the scope of the chief building official within the building department. Application and permit volumes are typically discussed during the committee. We do provide those reports. In conclusion, my report addresses the fact that our department is willing to meet with the public and hear their lived firsthand concerns and answer any questions that they have. We have gone through significant changes over the last few years, and the department is actively modifying the processes to be more efficient. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Hallinan. Now, folks, I'll just remind you again, we're going to be trying to have a conversation as to where we're going here. The recommendation in the report at this point in time is asking for council to give staff direction on how to move forward with the program. So this is the part of the program of the agenda where we talk about what that direction could look like, and we're going to just be having conversation about it and trying to do that in a respectful way, in a way that we can hear one another, and unfortunately, a way that does not allow comments from the gallery. So I will hand it over to council. Any questions of Mr. Hellman on his report? No questions. So where are we going from here, folks? Councilor report.
Through you, Mayor Watson, thank you, Dawn, for the very comprehensive report. There were a lot of items to address in there, and I think that folks should be very respectful of the fact that a lot of things in here you are not able to comment on or provide legal advice on in your role of CBO. But thank you for noting that in those cases, and for providing very lengthy comments on things that you were able to comment on with accuracy. The one, kind of the meat and potatoes of the whole report is essentially on page 1 here. Over the course of the last few years, between 725 and 750 inspections were completed under the program. 3 were complete failures, and 50% of them passed. So roughly 50% of the systems out there did need a little bit of maintenance or didn't fully comply with section 8.9 of the code. Is it a fair comment to say then that some of these immediate actions that people took on that kind of that 50% that didn't meet that section 8.9 were those things that potentially saved the system from failure or damage in the future? Potentially it could be trees growing on top of the weeping bed, or it could be people not knowing where the weeping bed was, where they were parking cars on it, or any other type of such things that not everyone knows about. Like, let's face it, a lot of people have moved to the community in the last 5 years from the city that maybe don't know where the weeping bed is or how a septic should be cared for.
Folks, please.
Is that a fair comment to make?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Councilor Roy, I didn't do the inspections, but through the conversations that I had with these inspectors that went to the site, that does sound appropriate. That it was, most of it was prolonging the life of the septic, just the homeowner or resident wasn't aware of what they needed to do. So whether it be cleaning up through the filters, as you discussed, trees kind of planted a little too close where the root system is going to get in and clog the bed. And so things that they were able to identify and just say, you know, you should really get that, you need to get that out of there. Some of it, again, was they didn't know where the tank was, as I alluded to, the pump chamber. And yes, patios getting built on top, like landscaping and gardens. Some people would mulch it, that holds in moisture, the system doesn't work appropriately. So I think all of those things are kind of, as you're saying, is what the bulk of the issues that were raised.
Councilor Little, were you down with your questions for something? Just say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Johnson, you're my second on, that means you've got something to say.
Yeah, I got something to say. Well, all I can say is that this has been going on for a lot of years. And if nothing else comes out of this, is that there was a lot of education done for a lot of people to realize that they've got to look after their own house a little better than maybe some have been doing. Like was said about putting decks on top of your septic, weaving tiles and that. I think a lot of us have probably done that over the years, not realizing what they're doing. And so I think the education is, if nothing else, we can make item. I'm going to, at this time, I'm going to make a motion right now. If I can get it daily second, we'll talk about it. But I want to stop all the inspections.
Yes.
Except for the ones that requested to be inspected, and they will notify our building department, and they will come and inspect it. Like why I'm saying that, well, we better get a second before I talk about
Okay, so a motion to stop the program entirely unless requested, is that?
That's right.
Thank you.
Discretionary.
Are we just speaking, are we just speaking to discretionary inspections, or are you also speaking to the source water protection? Just so I'm great.
Well, the ones that are mandatory, we got no control on. I understand, they've gotta be done, and they gotta be done every 5 years, whether we like it or not. They're not our rules. They're not our rules, so, I mean, people wanna argue with them, and there's other places you can argue with them. You know, that's not our, we got no control on that. So they have to be done every 5 years.
So your motion is to stop the
Especially
discretionary.
our in-house inspections, if we stop them now.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Council, anyone to second that? You folks, please, this is how this works. Okay, so no one will second that. Councilor Johnston, you are going to make another comment, or do you want to reserve comment and see where the discussion goes?
Yeah, no, no comment, but if I got no support, there's no, no need for me to comment anymore at this stage.
Okay, just your mic, please. And then I have Deputy Mayor Nelson.
I'd like to, through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make another motion that, Don bring back, another report, based upon, some of the legal, ramifications that we heard about, with our legal team. And I would like you to dive into that suggestion and see where the code comes with that dialogue that was had surrounding that and our legalities surrounding that before I would even think about making a decision if we could have staff. The building department look into that and come back with a report. So that's my.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have that, Councilor Good?
And keep up, sorry. Very Madam, and keep a pause on the program. I don't even know whether we even want to start it again this year, with it being late, if it even went that way. Because we're getting on to the time where we don't want to be pumping septics later in the year and having issues. I would suggest staying pause for a year and let Don bring back that, what was asked.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I think we do.
Anyone want to second that motion? Councilor Verboort. Okay, so now we are discussing the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Councilor Watt.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, we got some good information and some surprise probably information from our solicitor today in our meeting, private council meeting here. A lot of questions, a lot of comments, a lot of answers that we got, and a lot of questions that came up on how this whole system should work, could work, what's our legalities on it, what's the township's legalities on it, what the landowner's legalities on it. So our chief building official has all that information, so we got, and as Deputy Mayor Nelson said, I think we need to put a pause on it for whether it's this whole year and have a report come back from the solicitor's comments on to where we stand, how we stand, and do it right if we're going to continue with it. And I'm just saying if we're going to continue with it because it's up in the air right now until we figure out where we're going, our next step. It's not a crystal ball. It's a, you know, like I said, we do have a lot of comments from our solicitor, and we have to make sure that, you know, that we're doing things correctly. Put it that way. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Well, I'll say a few words now then. Thanks, Mike. Over the last few years, or pardon me, the last few weeks, a number of concerns have been raised about the program that was approved in 2019. And I agree, the program has been fraught with challenges And the concerns that we're hearing, in my mind, are valid to a degree, but we need to come to some sort of compromise. But the other challenge here is, from when the program was approved in 2019 until now, things have changed. And I don't mean about, the demographics, the community. I mean just about our tolerance and affordability to be able to manage a program as citizens, as residents. It's an extra $150 that, do we really need to be asking from our residents right now? I really do feel that today is an opportunity to begin to fix that program and make things right. My definition of right might not be the same as what other people think is right. For instance, I don't agree with abolishing the program completely. I think that we should have a program because we know systems are failing and that they exist in our township. But the ones that create the greatest risk are the ones that are on our waterways and are the ones that are in our high density areas, in the hamlets within our community. We also have a lake community that's asking for this. And although I know one of the delegates said, where are they? It's true, they haven't shown up here, but they have shown up in our inbox lately. We have letters, we have been receiving them, we have been receiving phone calls. So we are hearing from that lake community. And the other thing that I am concerned about, just as the program is, and this is a take back for staff, is just the data that we are collecting if we are moving forward with the program and how that data is used. I think we really need to get clear that if we run a program in the future, whatever that program looks like, that we have real clear guidelines on what the intent of that program is and what the plan is to do with any of the data that we collect through that program. I don't want, personally, if a program moves forward, I don't want to be seeing data used for other building department revenue activities, shall we say. Realizing that there's maybe unlawful or unpermitted construction or something of that nature. And when we're trying to ensure that compliance is happening with failing septic systems, and if that is the intent of anything going forward, that's all the intent is, and that future building officials or councils 5, 10, 25 years from now don't see it as an opportunity to go back in time and data mine. So personally, as for the motion that's on the floor, Deputy Mayor Nelson, I support it in principle. I want to see a report come back to council, taking into consideration the legal requirements that we have as a municipality, but I would also like to see a program that, if we do look at the program, that it only looks at those high-risk areas or high-risk systems, whether they're, predate 1973, is that the number? 6, whatever that, it's a good vintage. Whatever that year it is. Maybe it's we're looking at those systems that we haven't been on, or if they are waterfront systems or high density in our hamlets. Again, a bylaw that looks at only collection of essential data. I don't know what that is, so that those systems can be inspected properly. I also am concerned about liability, that if inspections go forward, if it is in fact a certificate, if you will, that will last them for 10 years, or if it is simply a snapshot in time in that moment as it relates to potential liability to the municipality and what the ramifications are of that. So for example, if a system fails 3 weeks after we do an inspection, where is that responsibility? And I want to feel comfortable what that looks like if we are to go forward with something. And I echo the sentiment of my colleagues here that we put a full pause on the program for 2024 so that staff has the time to bring this back. The reality is, we've got some big questions to answer. And I apologize that it has come to this, to bring it forward. And I also thank all of you for being here and bringing that forward and bringing those concerns forward. I know some of you have been quite active on this particular issue and put a lot of time into it. So thank you for that work. But then thank you for all of you who are continuing to show up and be engaged on this. So those are my comments on the motion. I don't know if that alters the motion or if we need to amend anything based on what was captured by Deputy Mayor Nelson's motion by basically having staff report back at some point. Sorry, I put you on the spot.
No problem. Thank you, Madam Mayor. If the mover and seconder are okay, we could make a friendly amendment to expand the motion to where it says that we need to, that the report should be based on the legal ramifications discussed, that we actually include the list of items that have just been mentioned into the motion, so it's very clear what we will be reporting back. If that is okay with the mover and seconder.
Will mover and the shaker accept that? Mover and seconder accept that friendly amendment?
Yep,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Madam Clerk, for that clarification. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, we have a motion duly made and seconded. All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are going on. We've got a number of other correspondence and or correspondence items. Feel free to leave. Give me my permission. And maybe we'll take a quick 5 minutes and talk about some more.
Sure, sounds good.
5 minutes, we will reconvene at 7:20. Thank you.
Bar here. You can. Good job, guys.
We are, we've got, maybe one more minute, but yeah, we'll let it start, get us all fired up again.
So Madam Mayor, we've, the YouTube was kept on and recording was kept on, the audio was just paused while we took that break.
Okay,
But everything is back and we can return to recess whenever you wish.
okay, fantastic. Well, let's get back to business then. So we are now on item number 11, committee reports and or committee minutes and other reports, and we only have the events committee meeting minutes on the agenda. Any discussion, Councilor Johnston? I saw a question or, excuse me, discussion looking for volunteers for Canada Day Parade. Are you still looking for volunteers?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're still looking for volunteers. They did have a few names, so, I don't know how many they really want. They want 3 or 4.
Okay.
And I, different ones thought they knew people, so, I don't know how much of an it is an issue right now.
Okay.
There were some other items there that were mentioned. And I think I've already talked to them. One was, asking, Councilor Watt was assisting in, setting up the sound for the parade, and he, thought he would be able to do that. I appreciate it. And, Marcel one night is gonna be singing "O Canada." And, if by chance it rains, we're gonna be going, we're setting up in, St. Joseph, Parish Hall. Because we are having cake and drinks and that for the people that are there. So we'll be using the hall if it does rain. The posters have already, I think flyers have already been made up, and now it's being sent out. On that poster, I can't forget the ones that are on there, that if, as far as people wanting to know that they can sign up and be in the parade, and there were their phone numbers there, or it was on the.
It's on.
Okay.
Is it
So
on
that
the
would be on
website?
It's not the website.
Okay.
Some people are asking that.
So 2:30 parade.
Oh, I guess Martina, just ask you again, because I think you're talking to Mike about the cake and the cuttings and the napkins and that. Where do we stand on that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Anu and I have made arrangements for all of those items, so everything will be gotten before the parade, and then you'll just need someone to pick up the cake the day before. That's all arranged, and just on the website, there is a pop-up on the website letting people know about the Canada Day Parade, and there's a news article. One of the other members is taking care of alerting the media, and the information is not disclosed.
Okay, thanks. Now, picking up the cake, I don't have a problem picking up the cake. Would we pay for it at the time, or what do you want to do about it?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we're working through those questions with the cake provider, so we'll have an answer for you shortly.
Okay. Okay, I could use my, my card, my, township card. Oh, no, I don't have one.
Yeah, that's right. Where's that expense card?
All right, okay, you let me know, if I can pick them up, and also, we can put them in the fridge over in, over at the hall. I'm going to ask them to do that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Councilor Watt?
Yes. Do I need to turn this on? Through you, Madam Mayor. When you were saying about, volunteer to sing "O Canada," is it Marcel or Marcy?
Marcel.
Marcel,
One down.
okay, because it says Marcy there, and I know that's Mike's wife, and I thought, I didn't know she sang. She may, but yeah, it's Marcel,
Marcel.
which is Doug's wife, yeah, all right, thank you.
Back microphones, please, gentlemen. Thank you for that clarification. I didn't catch that. I saw Marcy and I just was surprised she sung.
She may sing.
Thank you very much. A motion to approve and receive those minutes. Councilor Report, second by Councilor Watt, all in favor, that motion carried. Can I just add a little bit of levity to the whole situation, how we go from like these really, really big issues to now we're planning a parade. Like, oh, it's awesome. Okay, moving on to correspondence, action items. We've got 3 pieces of correspondence in front of us. Item 12.1, Township of Lake of Bays. Request for royal assent of administrative monetary penalty system, otherwise known as AMPS, in the Building Code Act. Council, what would you like to do with this? Councilor Report.
Through Mayor Watson, I'd like to receive and support.
And will that be seconded by anyone? Councillor Johnston, any discussion? All in favor? And that carries. Item 12.2, we have Metropolitan Toronto Zoo request to support a resolution regarding exotic wild animal regulations in Ontario. What would you like to do?
Don't look at me.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
I'll move to receive.
And will someone second that?
I'm going wild to receive that one, yes.
Wildly.
Yeah.
Councillor Verboort, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 12.3, Steve Avery correspondence, updated information regarding the road allowance closure request between lot 31, concession 5 and 6 Dummer Ward. And we do have the ability to address any council or any questions on that through Madam Clerk. If there are any, council, what would you like to do with that?
Through you, Mayor Watson, just a question for our clerk. I would like to make a motion to receive this, but I'm wondering what else is expected to be coming for council regarding this matter.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Herbert. Just to provide you a little bit of background on this, last time this had come to council, council had requested that staff meet with Mr. Avery and Mr. Little, because there's a bit of a difference there in what they wanted the outcome to be. So we did have a meeting. Mr. Drain also attended that meeting. We weren't able to come to an agreement at that meeting, so we left it to the two parties to meet on their own. They did have various discussions. Mr. Avery has prepared the documents that we see here. There's a letter from himself, letter from his lawyer, letter from Holly, who runs a building consulting service about the request. In preparing the agenda for this meeting, staff did reach out to Mr. Little and Mr. Drain to let them know that this meeting was taking place, this item was on the agenda as a courtesy. Through those discussions, we were alerted that Mr. Drain, through Mr. Person, sorry, Mr. Little, through Mr. Drain, he will be bringing his own request forward for lands to the north of the request that Mr. Avery has done, so they won't be competing with each other, it'll be separate land. Because the policy only allows land that is directly adjacent to the land in question to potentially be sold. And so the land that Mr. Avery is looking for is directly in front of his plot of land, and the land that Mr. Little will be requesting is directly in front of his plot of land, which is to the north of Mr. Avery. So he is also looking at that, but those two requests will not compete with one another because it's not the same. Mr. Drain and Mr. Little knew that this was on the agenda. They did not provide written comments, and they said they would be in touch with council in the future about their own.
Councillor, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I lost track. We had a motion to receive on this.
Oh, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, I did forget the last part of Councilor Herbert's question. You can receive this information today. You can also receive it and ask staff to go back to Mr. Avery to begin discussions about price and surveys, which will be the next step in this process.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Ward still has the floor. Councillor Watt had his hand up, but Deputy Mayor Nelson had his hand up before I turn it over to Martina. So just
Through you, Mayor Watson, I would like to amend my motion then to reflect the changes the clerk just spoke to regarding looking at what steps would be involved in that, and then staff preparing that report, but having that report presented along with the report or request from Mr. Little, so council can look at both of them at the same time and do everything all in one shot.
do we know when a request might be coming forward from Mr. Little?
Then maybe strike that last part of the motion, then it'll just stick to the first
All
part.
right, thank you. Deputy Mayor Nelson, are you seconding that?
No,
Okay.
just a comment.
Okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Can we just see if we have a seconder on the motion?
Okay, I will second that motion with comment.
Okay, there you go.
How's that?
Floor is yours.
Yes, I believe that in talking with Mr. Little and Mr. Drain actually today. I believe that that is going to come very quickly. They had a surveyor there to actually give us an actual drawing, a survey drawing from where they, from Percy's property or Mr. Little's property. And that should be coming very soon. I believe they were there on site today. So I believe that that's why I second the motion. We might as well just defer it until we get all that information together, I believe. So.
Okay, so, but we're not deferring it. Your motion, Councilor Horde, just to be clear, was to ask staff to continue moving forward with the Avery's request to purchase the property. Full stop.
Through you, Mayor Watson, I will amend my motion again. I will revamp it to say that we will hold off until Mr. Little's request comes through, and we'll do everything at the same time since they're parcels that are close to each other. Mr. Little is apparently in the process of this, and I think maybe we set a time parameter around this, saying that we bring this to a close in our first council meeting in August, if it's not complete before then. And I see the clerk has a question.
I figured she would. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only trouble I see with this proposed motion that's on the floor is that when Mr. Little's submission does get received by staff, it has to come to council first, have council acknowledge the request, and then staff must complete a 60-day, 30 or 60 days, I can't remember off the top of my head, circulation to all of the neighbors and stakeholders. So it will be a challenge to run these two requests parallel, because they are on separate timeframes as directed by the policy.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Councilor Watt speak because he's been waiting very patiently. We do have an amended motion on the floor. You can speak what you want to speak, Mr. Watt. Sign language.
Before we extend
What?
the time,
Oh, we have to extend the time. Apologies. Oh,
that was my first comment, was to do
Okay.
that, but I do have a comment on that.
understood. You
But-
should have raised the point of order then, sir.
Sorry.
So a motion to extend the hour.
Yes, the half hour, whatever it is, we.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor. Bing, bang, boom, that is done. Councilor Watt, back over to you. Councilor Johnson, is your mic on because you have something to say?
Yeah, I
Wait your
got
turn.
something to say.
Turn that mic off, wait your turn. Councilor Watt.
All right, thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. And it was a comment that our clerk / CAO made about going forward with, starting to get prices, stuff like that, but until we know exactly what the one party wants, the other party wants, can we actually get prices and start that process? Or that, because, I mean, I until we have official paperwork in here, we don't know what Mr. Little's asking for. We probably have an idea, but we don't really know for sure, so it's one of those things that I don't want to overprice the one person, but I don't want to underprice the other one either, yeah, so I guess that's kind of my question, is what goes on. I do not want to make a decision on 100% on what we're selling until, if we're going to sell and what we're going to sell, until we see both proposals.
Madam Clerk.
Sorry, I'm turning that off.
Through you, Madam Mayor, so the policy addresses this exact concern. The policy lays out that if council were to direct staff to continue moving through the policy regarding the Avery request, the next thing we would do is Mr. Avery would have to get a survey of the exact land he wishes to purchase from the township, which would lay out what he wishes to buy. The township preemptively got an appraisal of this land and got costing for the land that provides a cost per acre. So we can use the same formula for both parties on the cost per land if we get to that stage for both parties. So the next step, if we follow the policy exactly, the next step would be for staff to work with Mr. Avery for him to get a survey of exactly what he wants to have. And then we would cost that, bring that back to council for review in closed session, because it would be a real estate matter, and then provide that information to Mr. Avery. He would determine whether he's willing to accept the offer that council is putting forth, and then we'll go from there. So this would not happen overnight. There's still quite a ways to go before this matter can be completed. And Mr. Little, when he brings his request forward, he will need to go through the exact same process. And I admit it is not fast, but it is very thorough. That's what.
And why I asked that, sorry, let me turn this back on. What, kind of why I asked that is, because a lot of times when we stop up and close a section, whatever like that, both parties are allowed to buy their potential side permit. In this particular case, looking at that map, it's not really a side, it's a, I want this piece and I want this piece, kind of like that, whatever. So if Mr. Avery goes and gets a survey for what he wants, and then Mr. Little puts one in from his survey to what he wants, and one overlaps the other, do they have to go back and get a survey again for, for council to decide, is it gonna cost them for a second survey?
Your question, Madam Clerk? Thank you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Watt. The policy doesn't allow that to take place. The policy is quite clear that the land must be adjacent to the land in question, which means you're gonna have 90-degree lines, like they will be straight across. They are not to be on an angle. So I know in the initial discussion that Mr. Little had brought forward, when Mr. Avery brought his first request forward, there was discussion of like pie shapes or 180-degree bends and things like that. The policy does not allow for those types of lines to be drawn through this process. They have to be, the land in the road allowance must be directly adjacent to the land that it would be added on to. So for Mr. Little's initial request, it was land that was kitty corner to his land, which the policy does not allow. So the lands that they would both be requesting could not conflict with one another because of the way, because they can't be kitty corner, they have to be adjacent to the touching. I can draw it on the map if you so wish.
Yeah, we might have to.
So Councillor Johnson.
Through the mayor, like the bottom line is, the survey will show what you can have and what you can't have. I mean, you're only buying, if you want what's on the survey that is your property, then it's yours, if you want to buy it. So I mean, therefore, to me, the survey is everything, and two different surveys can't show two different areas. They gotta show the exact same location on the survey. The thing that kind of bothered me, and I was hoping Mr. Avery would be here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you. The thing that bothered me is that I went up there and looked at the thing, because I know the area good, and I couldn't get in. There's a gate there that was locked and I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
So I guess here's the thing I don't understand. I understand since then that they said that you pay a fee for to go in every year, whether you want to cross the property.
Yeah, there's two cottages that use that road.
Mr. Avery, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna pause you because I think that we should, if we're gonna do this, in fairness, we
Okay.
should have a motion to suspend the rules and ask Mr. Avery to speak. Because he's not registered and
No,
this
I
is a
don't
public meeting.
I don't need Mr. Avery to speak.
Yeah, I
I'll just speak-
apologize.
I'll just speak on what I've seen. All I'm saying is that I understand that you pay a fee to go in, to use it every year. That's fine. It's all okay, so I couldn't get in. But saying that, the way I see it, if Mr. Little not satisfied, he just says the gate stays locked, keep your fee. And therefore you can't get in anyways. So I'm a little confused why you couldn't settle this without us having to come to the table and say, here's what's going on. I mean, that's what bothered me. If I couldn't get in, you can get in on paying a fee, but you can just turn out and say, well, keep your money and don't come by in our property.
Councillor Johnson, Madam Clerk has some context that she can offer you to address your
Oh, yeah,
question.
okay, all right. I should be answering directly to you because I can't answer.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Johnson, in speaking to the parties when we had our meeting, we learned a little bit more about the arrangements. I won't go into them because they're civil arrangements that were made. The township's not party to those. But if you look at Mr. Avery's lot, if this deal was not to go through, and for some reason he was not able to access the typical route that he takes to access his property, he would still be able to access his property from the water.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
And that's how he would become a water access lot. We have many of those that,
Yep.
even though they're on the mainland, they're still water access.
Okay, no, that's
It wouldn't,
true.
it wouldn't preclude him from accessing his land, so it would make it more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, council, I think we have a motion, but I'm not sure what it is anymore, and I'm not sure where we're going with this. Can you please just keep me on track? What's the motion that we have on the floor, Madam Clerk?
So the first motion that was provided was that the report be received, that staff look at next steps such as survey and cost and bring back a report to council. That was further amended to say that the report be received and that the work would be suspended until such time as Mr. Little's request comes forward and they be done at the same time. That's the amended motion, but we've since had discussion to explain what that may not be possible. So we do need clear direction on how council wants to move forward.
And the mover of that motion was Councilor Report and Deputy Mayor Nelson seconded, am I correct?
That is correct.
Thank you very much. So let's get caught up. Councilor Report.
Through you, Mayor Watson, I would like to go back to the first motion. As the clerk said, it's going to take a long time. If the survey gets started now, we are still going to be a considerable amount of time before completion.
Okay,
Anyway,
procedurally, let's just get straight here.
Yes.
Are we rescinding the friendly amendment or are we, what's, what are we doing?
yes, I would be rescinding the friendly.
Just not speaking for a second.
I had to shut this
What
off.
do we need to do, Madam Clerk? Not Councilor Report. Through you, Madam Mayor. I think the cleanest thing to do is just to have the mover rescind his motion completely and to start fresh with a new motion.
Councilor Report.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Watson, I would like to receive the report and allow staff to work with Mr. Avery on the next steps of this process.
Okay, I can't accept that motion until you rescind the.
Oh,
existing-
sorry, I rescind the first motion that I made and replace with this last one. Thank you.
Does that satisfy all the legalities? Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Nelson, your hand was up.
Just a question. One second.
To be clear.
Put your mic on.
Yeah, put your mic on.
Oh, sorry.
Are you seconding the motion, Councilor Watt? Just
So for discussion.
for discussion. There we go. We got a
Make
second.
it legal.
And
Um, a comment and a question. The question, when you say straight lines, what, is there any reason why, when it's on, for example, a straight line, when we're saying a straight line, can it not include part of the rollouts? Or does the policy say no, like a jog in the line? There is no jog in our township, where our township property is.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the policy does not allow for jogs in the request.
And the other thing is.
So councilors, perhaps it may be useful if I just pull up the map really fast. Let's pull up the map.
Okay, see, I'm just doing that.
I'm sorry for
you're just drawing the map.
I'm sorry for delaying, but.
No, it's,
And I'm,
I think we need this clarification, it seems, so we'll pull up the map.
and it's okay, we can, I'm all right with waiting until. I'm very disappointed though that both parties were not able to come up. I'm very disappointed with that. I thought when you were both here, I thought that this would have been settled between you, and that's very disappointing for me. I believe, but.
We're here now, so. Madam Mayor, I'm going to bring something up on the screen. Please. Through you, Madam Mayor. So this is an image that council has seen before. This was with the original Avery request. This was prepared by Mr. Avery's agent, on his behalf based on some survey work that had been done when he was looking to do renovations to his cottage. That's what spurred these discussions in the first place. So on this map, you can see Mr. Avery's property, and then you can see the area highlighted in yellow. I acknowledge that yellow is not the best color, but that is what was used, and so we'll work with that for now. So the area that's encased in yellow is the area that Mr. Avery would like to purchase. You can see that it is a straight line across from Mr. Avery's property to here. It's not on an angle. It's a straight line, continuing the line, his property line. And so that leaves area to the north, which is not his here. Sorry, the mouse is not my back today. Up the bottom, let's say. And then land at the bottom as well. That would be available to other parties to purchase because that land is adjacent to their land as opposed to Mr. Avery.
Deputy Mayor Nelson, your mic is still hot and you were to ask another question, so the floor is yours.
So Martina, it has to be directly across, the policy is directly across from the property.
Well, the survey will
The
show
dark property line.
Yeah, yeah.
The survey will show that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is what the policy states. It must be directly adjacent to the property. The property line must continue straight across. It can't jiggle down or change angles. It has to continue straight as that yellow line shows up.
I guess what my confusion is, Martina, is when, especially on this row loans, and to say, for, I know what Mr. Little's request is. And I guess when I look at, there's all kinds of different places around the county, around the township. Not many that are stopped up and closed, but there is configurations that have happened. And I know that I was part of that. And it was either half of the road allowance was given to maybe one side of the property owner, and the other half was given to the other. And I don't think that we're, even though I don't know how the policy speaks to this, but I don't think that we're configured to being, as long as all parties are in favor, I think that there could be a different, still straight lines, but it could be different than what is actually looking, and what Mr. Avery is looking at here. So anyways, I'll just, I'll again, I'll shut up and let the surveys come in and go from there.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So in the second report about Mr. Avery's request, we had the first report which was presented to council.
Yes.
And would council allow us to send a circulation? That was first report. Second report was the response from that circulation, which is the various comments we received. And then we also, in that report, our planning staff reviewed the request from both parties, like basically Mr. Avery's request, and then Mr. Little had objected to it and provided additional documentation as to why he objected at the time. We had planning staff review that, and planning staff provided their opinion that the request that Mr. Little had initially presented would not be supported by staff because it would create planning problems in the future, because it would create areas of conflict, and we've seen that in other properties. So it was staff's recommendation that we keep this, which is what the policy says we're supposed to do. And I'm happy to bring that report back up, or I can just send it again.
That's fine.
Okay, Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, no, I remember when you were here, and I seen the line before I tried to go up there, but I seen the line, and I remember saying that, how did he ever get building that building without the building department saying, whoa, that's on the township property, you know, like, but again, that was a different building, and that was, I'm sure, quite a few years ago, but still, these are the things that come back to bite you. you know, if you don't do it right, because all of a sudden that part of the property shouldn't have been there, or should have been bought at that time, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was. Anyway, it's common to me, which I said before.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, and, are you still speaking? Is your mic on?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. We have a motion on the floor that has been seconded. Lots of discussion. We're just gonna call for
Can I
vote.
read the motion?
You wanna hear the motion again?
Can I hear the motion, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the motion is to receive the documents submitted by Mr. Avery and to have staff work with Mr. Avery on the next steps of the policy and report back to council.
Okay, good call vote. All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks for your patience while we work that one through. Okay, so we are moving on to item number 13, 13.1, bylaw 2024-31, for the building, no. Yeah,
Bylaws.
let's just do one on each, please. You'll make the motion on 12 or 13.1, seconded by Councilor Report, all in favor? That motion carries. 13.2, 2024-32 bylaw. Councilor Report, seconded by Councilor Johnston, all in favor, and that motion carries. Thank you. We have no reports from notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, are there any announcements?
Your breakfast Thursday morning.
Oh, my breakfast, my breakfast. But yes, thank you. Thursday morning, the Peter Report Chamber of Commerce is organizing for mayor's breakfast. I think there's still tickets available. Yeah, it's at Burley Falls Inn. It's not really at the lodge, it's called the Inn, Burley Falls. And it starts at 8:30, 8 o'clock. And it will be myself, Mayor Lanshead from Trout Lakes, Mayor Aniot from North Kawartha, and Mayor Simmons from Selwyn Township. So it should be a great time.
List of questions Thursday.
I got the list of what they said, so I haven't looked at it yet. Okay, so come on. Do we have any closed session? I don't believe so. So just on with our confirming bylaw, Councilor Report, seconded by Councilor Ward, all in favor, that motion carries, thank you. And our next meeting, our regular council meeting is June 18th. We do have a special council meeting starting at 4 o'clock on that one for our audited financial statements. Our auditors are coming. And then we also have committee of the whole on June 25th, and that's it. What time? 10 o'clock, 10:30.
Tomorrow.
Through you, Madam Mayor, committee of the whole, we may adjust the start time slightly, but I will let you know as soon as I know.
Thank you.
And we do have that special meeting on the agenda and published for 2 days now. And council can arrive, I believe we started at 9:50.
Right, and it's closed session, so it's, yeah, at 1:50? 150? 150. Okay. All right. Got it. All right. Councilor Report.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone, for a good meeting. We got a lot covered.